So the idea here is to take this large billet that's made from sawtooth aspen and turn it into a double spoon blank. Now, I've got a couple problems here already because I've got an area that's pretty wide right here that's bumping the tool rest. The gouge will take care of that, but I've got to get in there and get that taken care of first probably. I'll put my full spacer in on this side and get my tool up there, and hopefully I can knock that down. But I've got to leave one side of this fairly large because that's going to be my spoon bowls. The other side can be turned down into the handles. We'll see how this works out. I've never done anything like this before. This is my first attempt at it. And I'm trying to kind of feel my way through everything here. I feel where the tool should be, where it should lay, how things are supposed to work out. I've got some material I can put in here for spacers. Not a big deal, and I think that you need to keep things like that around probably to use, because even that isn't really enough space. I think I need something even wider than that to go in there to push against. Maybe almost a piece of 2x stock. Now, all of this is new to me as well, so I'm kind of feeling my way through it here. Get these high spots knocked down on this thing, and it's in the middle here of this billet. Make sure everything's riding the way it's supposed to. This billet's wanting to slip around a little bit already. That's already going to cause me a problem. So I'm going to have to tighten this thing down some, I think. Push it in on this side, get it solid. Trial and error, trial and error. This is all about, but I got a lot of work in this billet, so I'd rather take my time and just go a little at a time. I seem to do better with the gouge with my right hand or left hand on the gouge and my right hand guiding it, and I seem to kind of do better the other direction with the other chisel with the other two hands. I don't know if that's a part of being ambidextrous or if that's a part of being left-handed that is doing it to me. I'm not so sure that I'm out around enough, really, that I couldn't just use a wide chisel on this right from the word go. I may give that a shot too for a minute. That looks dangerous. Although it's removing pretty good sized chips, doesn't mean it's right. Still moving around on this back side. I don't like that at all. So I'm going to cut that. I'm going to cut the back of that off. And I'm going to start that again on a center mark. Wobbling in here on this back side, and that's never going to allow me to get a good cut on anything. As long as that's happening, you can see how that kind of got wallered out. So I'm just going to cut that off. This side's good and stable, this side's not. So I'm going to fix that real quick. Okay, I got that centered back up now. I'm going to just come back in here with this roughing gouge again. And I may be too below center line on this material now, I'm not sure. I'm just kind of letting it bump it. Let's see what it's going to do here. Still moving over here. I don't understand how that's happening, unless it's because we're off to one side so bad. That's driving me crazy though. Now this has been a matter of deep experimentation, I can tell you, because it's not working out exactly the way I foresaw it working. And I don't know if it's well, we're not losing it now. That's a good thing. I think the hardest part of this one is going to be to get this billet round. Once I get that point taken care of, I think I'll be all right. It's just a matter of maybe paying more attention to what you start off with and starting off with something a little bit more dimensionally what you're looking for in the end. Turning good now, and we're staying centered, so that's an A for effort there. Like I said, this is something I've never tried before, so I expected to learn a lot while doing this. And so far, what I'm seeing is that this rope needs to be not on one end. I think that was the problem. It was on one very end piece here, and that kind of drags you. The other thing I'm seeing is you just really kind of got to take your time with this gouge. I've got an area now that's starting to get rounded out, and that's my hope, is to get one spot rounded out about a third of the way down, so I can flip my piece and get the rope on that smaller diameter to get more revolutions. get everything consistent, and then try to get to the point where I'm going to do my spoon blank. Curiosity's got the best of me here, and I want to see what a commercial gouge will do that's really, really sharp. You can see there's a big difference there, for sure. Okay, I'm trying to stay semi-consistent on my size here as I go. Man. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing here is I'm trying to get this thing to uniform thickness to start off with. This is a regular file 9x25 sweep gouge, spoon gouge, same gouge I use when I make my spoons, the hollowing gouge. So it's a little short for this task, but as you can see, it will definitely get the job done. So if you're trying to minimize the amount of tools that you've got, this makes a fine roughing gouge. Kind of washing my thickness here, trying to keep this fairly uniform all the way down the piece as I go, turning this into a cylinder. Okay, so when I get to the point where I'm afraid I'm going to run into my rope here, I'm pretty close to that point now, I'm going to just flip this thing over. All that's going to do is give me a few more revolutions every stroke, because I've got a smaller diameter here to put the rope on. So I'll just turn the workpiece around. Like this. Might get one more wrap on there. That's pretty good. And then tighten her back up. Okay, now I can start working on this other end. Okay, got a little bit of a bind right there, so I'll swap this around and get that first. Now, you know, the main reason that I've gone to a commercial tool here instead of one that I forged is a couple reasons. Number one, I want to see if I'm the one that's doing something wrong, or if the tool that I'm using is not good enough. And the fact that this chisel works so good and I can manipulate it so well tells me that the chisel that I made for this process is not correct. So I'll have to go back to the drawing board on that. But this helps me to get my technique down to where it's supposed to be. And then at least I know that when I do have a tool in my hand that I made, if it's not working, it's not because my technique's not correct. It's because my tool's not correct. So I'm eliminating a variable here by learning to use, I would say, a proper tool. It's not really a proper tool because it's not a lathing tool. It's a carving tool, but it works. And it works much better than the tool that I had that I was trying to use as far as the gouge goes. So that tells me that I've eliminated the variability within this process, at least as far as the tool goes. I know that this tool works much better. I can get fine shavings with this all day long. Get this thing straightened up all the way to the end here. Then we'll talk about the next step that we're going to do here. The key now is that I now understand I can create cylinders. And that's important right off the bat, is to understand that you can get these long, thin shavings, you can create these perfect cylinders, and from that you can create lots of other things like we're going to attempt to create today. Okay, so here's where we're at right now. It kind of looks like a club, but if we taper this end down, and taper this end down, and smooth everything out, and split it in half, we'll basically have 2 spoon blanks, and that's what we're after. Okay, I committed one of what I would call the deadly errors here of doing this stuff, and I had this rope all the way down here on this very end. And what it did was it caused this end to wobble. It threw me out really bad right here at the edge of my bowl. Luckily, I caught it, and I caught it real quick. So I think I can just come right back in here and get this squared up. I ended up having to cut a piece of it off at the end there, recenter it, okay, that looks pretty good. I wanted to go a little bit more further up, I think, on this with this handle transition to bowl. Yeah, I got one couple chunks right there. Definitely not perfect by any means. They'll come out when I'm carving it, but definitely not what I want in my final piece. And I don't know if I can get them to cut out or not. I can try to get a little deeper into that transition maybe and get them out of there. A lot of this is just absolute control of this tool, and you'd be surprised with moving this thing up and down how easy that thing is to screw up. Okay, so I'm not too awful unhappy here. I'm going to take my sanding saw, and if I was a better machinist, I wouldn't have to do this. But I'm just going to clean this thing up a little bit here. And what we have here now is something looks very similar to a bowling pin in all actuality. But we should be able to split this if we take advantage of somewhere where the grain's already separated. Maybe like right here in the handle. We might be able to cleave that down and hopefully get 2 spoon blanks out of it. We're about to find out. Okay, so in theory, we should be able to take our crafting throw now and place this thing on the stump and do a fairly controlled split and get 2 spoon blanks out of this piece. Kind of look at which way our grain direction's running. Our circles are here and here. We'll try to split it across that in this direction. Trying to split off to one side on us already, right there. Probably only going to get 1 spoon blank out of this before it's over with. Looks like we got some twisted grain in here. Okay, there we go. Now, to be honest with you, we actually did get 2 spoons out of that. One of them is going to be a little shallower than the other, and probably a little thinner in the handle. One of them is going to be good and thick and robust, but we can definitely get 2 spoons out of this. There's no question about that. It's not too small for that. So that's just another way of skinning the cat, per se. We could saw these out, we could cut them out with our axe, or we could make a single blank on the lathe, and you can see how the grain split right there, a little jagged. Make a single billet on the lathe and split that down to get our spoon blanks. But there's no doubt that both of those will make a usable spoon. This one's going to be a little bit more dainty, but it's still got plenty of strength in it for sure. And that's the advantage of splitting wood and using green wood. And splitting the grain and not cutting it with a saw is that you take advantage of the strength within the wood by following the grain. Well folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, and I appreciate you joining me out here for another video today. I thank you for all your views. I thank you for your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business, for all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.